Hi, it's another Wednesday and you're welcome to the Premier League preview show right here on City TV. We are live on Facebook. My name is Nathan Quao and the show is proudly brought to you by Premium Bank and Betway, supported by Vodafone. It has been an epic match week 28. We'll get into the high points. We'll look ahead to Thursday night football involving Arsenal and Man City, and then we talk about match week 29 over the weekend, of course, like we do every weekend. Drop your comments in the comment section below this live stream. I'll go through as many of them, and I'll be expecting to hear from you, giving us some very interesting perspective and opinion. My name is Nathan Quao. Once again, let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll introduce my wingman, and then we start talking. It's the Premier League preview show. We are live. We're back shortly. Hi, you're welcome back. It's the Premier League preview show. We are live on City TV, live on Facebook. Nathan Quao here. The wingman is here. Benjamin Nketia is here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. So last weekend we had Bosphorus. It was fun.
Yes, it was amazing. It was amazing. I think that Bosphorus is officially my favorite place for a road show now. the general ambience about the place for watching football, interacting, and just having a good time. I love it.
Let's talk about the biggest league game over the round, and it was a clash of two managers who had gone at each other all season long. Yeah. It was Jose Mourinho getting a 2-1 win over Antonio Conte. Just quick thoughts on that. Lots of people think that event effectively kills Chelsea's title ambition as if it was alive earlier. No. But people say that that's a huge problem now because they will have to try and overcome a deficit to break top four.
The game itself showed me a few pillars or a few talking points. First of all, I saw a match of two halves, which I did not expect. First half dominated immensely by Chelsea Football Club, where I always say this to myself whenever I watch a football game. If you dominate a spell for between 5 to 10 minutes, at least make sure you end up with a goal within that spell. Chelsea dominated that 45 minutes, created at least 4 good chances within that time, and managed to score the most unlikeliest of the lot. So I was a little disappointed in how Chelsea managed their goal scoring opportunities. And then in the second half, I was totally surprised by the dominant football Jose Mourinho asked his charges to play. Again, I was a bit taken aback by Antonio Conte's in-game management, because he's been the guy who in the past has received the most praise for being a brilliant in-game manager. But some of the substitutions that were made...
Where do you think he lost the plot? Because the squad didn't change after the first half, but the intensity dropped so much so that United started to dominate, and the 3-on-2 midfield advantage started to show. Pogba was beginning to enjoy his afternoon. Lukaku was immense. He scored one and set up the other. Where do you think Chelsea lost it?
Just taking his star man off. Just taking Eden Hazard off the pitch. I mean,
but Hazard stayed on for a while.
Well, but at the point where he was needed the most to help the team to get going, he was not on the pitch, and I felt that was sad, because the substitution that was brought in the person of Pedro offered next to nothing in the encounter. And for me, that's where Chelsea lost the game. It's a match they could easily have won, even when the game was poised at 1-1. They could have made in-game changes that would have switched the balance, but it didn't happen. And then also, quick thoughts on the performance again of Alexis Sanchez. I mean, I am keen on this because I was one of the guys who said that Alexis was going to be a game changer for Manchester United.
He still hasn't figured out himself yet.
He's still really just groping in the dark as far as I'm concerned. And that's my problem. I think that Mourinho needs to tell us what Alexis's position is. As of now, I cannot tell. I don't know if he's a centre forward. I don't know if he's a left winger. He's an attacking midfielder, because he's all over the place. And I mean, it's not bad if you are a player who's been given the free role and you know how to execute your free role. You know how to stay out of the way of other people's spaces. He doesn't seem to have that down very much, because one moment he is in the same space with another teammate, the next moment he's fleeting into somebody's running lane. It's just very uncomfortable to watch, and I get the sense that in the end, both player, club, and fans will all end up frustrated, because this was supposed to be a move that if it didn't help them usurp Manchester City at the top, was supposed to give fans a glimmer of hope for the future, or at least next season. So far, from what I have seen, it looks to me like a relationship that is going nowhere. It's almost as if Mourinho has thrown Alexis down the deep end and says, play till you figure your way out. But that's not how it's supposed to be.
The manager should
define the player's role for him and say, this is what I want you to do, this is what I don't want you to do, and this is your limits. I don't see any of that happening.
Let's talk about a player you seem to back a lot, while other people have thrown him down, Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
One of his best performances since joining from Everton. What did you make of the Man United number 9?
I felt that it was a performance premised on especially the criticism about not showing up in big matches. I think he just gotten sick of it, because I had a post-game interview where he talked about how United fans needed to show him more respect. And I think that, look, United fans have no right, and I say it again, they have no moral right to disrespect Romelu Lukaku's goal-scoring record. Even before he signed for Manchester United, he was delivering hat-tricks against Manchester United when he was a teenager. So United fans really don't have any moral right to disrespect Romelu Lukaku.
But what about the reputation that said that he had played so many times against the big boys, wasn't scoring? I mean, when you sign a player for £75 million and he's a centre forward and he's played in this league for the last 4 or 5 years, you expect him to show up.
I do expect him to show up, and I'm saying that, look, some of those statistics and details are very deceptive, because yes, it's true that Lukaku scoring against big teams is few and far between, but he has scored against big teams if you actually go in depth.
That is the truth.
He has actually scored against big teams, but people always tend to focus on the bad patches where he goes on, say, a 9-goal run and he scored 7 against quote-unquote smaller teams. So I think that those comparisons are quite unfair, and that performance there was premised on delivering look, it had everything. It had a good first touch in it, it had passing ability in it, setting up his teammates in it, the man was running full throttle in the 92nd minute, taking 3 Chelsea players with it. I really could not believe my eyes. Look, if anybody has anything to criticize about Romelu Lukaku, you definitely cannot criticize his heart and dedication for the team, because he really, really runs out and gives 120%.
Where does he go from here? Does he look at this performance and tell himself, I need to do this more often, or he needs to say, I've done it finally, so I can go back to bed?
I think that as far as the Premier League is concerned, he will not catch up with Mohamed Salah or Harry Kane. And I think that his reputation in the Premier League is fairly cemented, as far as you ask me. Europe is where it needs to happen. Okay. In the Champions League, now United are up against Sevilla. It's a second leg. It's a dicey encounter. Can he come up with big plays like what he came up with against Chelsea? Is he that guy who can show composure on the biggest stage to carry his team forward? That, for me, will be the next phase for Romelu.
So Romelu Lukaku needing to do this a bit more. And those are things that players like Ian Wright, Ryan Giggs, Frank Lampard have all stated, that his ability is never in doubt. He just needs to be a bit more consistent in his delivery. But then let's start talking about match week 29. But let's deal with the small matter of the part 2 of the Carabao Cup final. So Man City won at Wembley 3-0. Dominant performance. On Thursday night, they have to go to the Emirates to try and repeat. Arsenal will hope to win, and now the stakes are higher. There are 3 points at stake, positions up for grabs. City want to extend the lead. Yeah. How is this one playing now tomorrow night? And that game, of course, is live on City 97.3.
I mean, just a few steps back to the Carabao Cup. That was practically one of the most spiritless performances I have ever witnessed. It's almost as if Arsenal did not intend to win the match even before they came onto the pitch. There was no fight. There was no determination. They were just all over the place for me. And, I mean, look, people talk about Wenger every time these things happen. I don't think Arsene Wenger has anything to do with these things, because I've come to the realization that, look, preparations go into building an organization. I look at the organization Arsene Wenger has built, and I do not think that he will leave anything to chance as far as preparations and covering the tiny details of a cup final are concerned. The rest is up to players to bring their determination, their ambition, and their ability to perform. That's it. I mean, Arsenal really didn't have a crack at goal. You can blame Wenger when you can say that, well, it looked as if the passing of the game was very one-sided for a long spell where Arsenal couldn't get out of their half. But then again, the manager cannot teach you how to control the pass in the flow of the game.
Really
the manager can't. He really can't teach you what to do detail by detail in the flow of a game. These are things you've learned. These are superstar players, earning superstar salaries. You cannot teach them tiny details. And I have come to the conclusion that Arsenal actually do need a mass clear out. If this,
a mass clear out.
They need a mass clear. I'm looking at that defensive backline and it's rugged. Skoda and Mustafi for me does not cut it. He's an average player.
Mertesacker is already out.
Mertesacker is already out the window. Nacho Monreal, maybe Laurent Koscielny, and Said Kolasinac to me are sure bet players to stay in the team. Hector Bellerin really has not been exceptional for me ever since all those
Barcelona
reports about Barcelona. He really has not been exceptional for me. They need to clear out almost their entire backline. And I've said it on the show before. I think Peter Cech is past his prime, and Arsenal need to move on from Peter Cech. He's not the guy.
On Thursday night, they do it again. Yeah. How do they pick themselves up? Because now City will be in super confident mode. Yeah. They beat Arsenal 3-0 on Sunday. I'm sure Thursday night they will say that, let's go out there, let's play another good performance.
It's about salvaging pride, or what is left of the pride for Arsenal. If they have any pride left in them, they will go out there and fight tooth and nail. You see, and the thing about football matches is nobody really comes out and lambast a team that you see give 100% or 120%. Okay. I don't care if you go out there and fight your socks off and lose a game. It's when you lose a game and you just put your hands behind your back and allow yourself to be punched all over. That's when there's a problem. So Arsenal need to go out there and tell the fans that we appreciate you coming out every time to pay money to watch us, so we need to give you a good performance. And it needs to start from Mesut Ozil. We are tired of all the little videos about being a Mercedes ambassador, about being...
He needs to get down
to business. I mean, look, we pay you to play football on the pitch. You are now the second highest paid player in the Premier League, and that's no fluke. There are players who are playing 3 times the football you are playing now, and you are earning 3 times their money. So you need to really prove your worth or earn your salary.
Mesut Ozil needs to do more. Thursday nights, Arsenal welcome Manchester City to the Emirates for what was supposed to have been the game played on Sunday, but that was the cup final. Let's move on, Ben, quickly. We've got some very interesting fixtures on our hands this weekend. Let's talk about Liverpool and Newcastle United. It's a classic, Premier League classic. In the past, we've seen all kinds of crazy games being played, but Newcastle are in a very bad place right now. And they face the might of Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino. That is a difficult thing.
They are a difficult team to gauge. One moment they look like a team that will not let anybody...
They were 2 up at Bournemouth, and they allowed Bournemouth back in.
Exactly my point.
And John Joshua, I've watched the clips. For the Bournemouth goals, he just stood and allowed his teammates to defend, and he was just watching on.
Exactly. One moment they look impervious, the next moment they look like everything will go through their system, and that's terrible. I mean, the character they've shown has not been reflective of the manager's character, because the manager has shown that he can work the best of magic with the least of resources.
Are you surprised Benitez is still in the job? I thought he would have resigned at a point.
It just tells us a lot about the man's character. If he signs up for a job, he probably will want to ride with it till the wheels fall off, and then he will be
clearly gone. He's leaving at the end of the season.
I think so. If he does stay on at the end of the season, that will have me really, really looking at him with wide eyes. But as things stand now, Newcastle United have a soft underbelly. The character has just not been there for me. And we have, as Ghanaians, Christian Atsu's positional security to worry about. Now he's been usurped in that position by Chelsea left back. And the part of me knew this was coming. A part of me just knew, because Atsu had been given week in, week out to perform.
They had signed him on a permanent from Chelsea. They hoped he would deliver. And guys, we are not being too harsh on Christian Atsu.
He's not been terrible but he's been bang average.
You know that he has more to give, and he's just not giving.
He's really been bang average for me. I would have felt that at this point in Christian Atsu's career, acceptable numbers, I go by acceptable numbers. 10-10 for me would have been fine. 10-10 for me endears him to any club he wants to move on to aside Newcastle. For those who are wondering what 10-10 is, 10 goals, 10 assists.
It was the matrix Benjamin put out for Pogba. Pogba is still on 9. Yeah. There are 9 assists.
I think Pogba will crack that 10 assists, but 10 goals, I'm not too sure about that. But for Christian Atsu, he really needs to elevate his game on the training ground. Just so I will need to ask him to tell me whether he prefers to play as a left winger or as an inverted winger, because I've always felt, and we always differ on that, I've always felt that he plays better on the right hand side. For some way, somehow, Newcastle have stuck him on the left hand side, but now it looks like he's set to lose that position to Kennedy.
You see, so that's a very tough game for Newcastle. They go to Anfield, and we saw Liverpool beating West Ham 4-1. So that clearly tells you what Newcastle are up against this weekend. There's Man City versus Chelsea, and that's part 2 of this run for Chelsea, where they've got to put themselves together. After this is the mighty Barcelona, and they have to go to Man City this Sunday, and that is a difficult one.
Man City versus Chelsea should be interesting, especially after the first leg. Now, I look at this game, and I think that Chelsea are the ones with the most to gain. Why? Because in 2 matches, they've let wins slip away.
Against Barcelona,
there's a lot of introspection to be done by the players and by Antonio Conte as a manager. Now, we've all seen that Chelsea are definitely not intimidated by whatever opponent, regardless of how bad the outside world says the form is. What do you do in such situations? I mentioned it already. When you have momentum or your opponents go to sleep mentally, make sure that you capitalize.
What's the plan for City? Now, at United, Chelsea dominated that first half, and that's a unanimous decision. We all agree. But at City, they would love to have the ball. Against Barcelona, we saw Chelsea play on the break. Should they apply that same approach?
It's going to be exactly the same philosophy.
Go to City, try and play on the counter.
Because Chelsea won't dominate their possession against Manchester City. Manchester City will have the ball, and Chelsea will feed on the scraps. And ironically, I think Chelsea are better as a team functioning with that sort of plan. Get the ball, let loose Eden Hazard in space, let loose Willian in space, and let them do the damage. Where I have a problem is the fact that people keep calling for Olivier Giroud and Alvaro Morata. Look, Alvaro Morata's form is in the gutter. They should leave it there. I think that Olivier Giroud is the one who should be getting the chances right now, because his hold-up play is brilliant. Morata can't even dribble. He can't even stop a pass.
What do you do with the Morata situation? I know this is first season syndrome. He has to get better in everything. But should Antonio Conte still be in that Chelsea job next season? Should he take a long look, a hard look at these 2 strikers and start telling himself that somebody has to be sitting on the bench for the other guy to play?
Well, I don't think Antonio Conte is actually very interested in playing with the main striker as it stands now for the longer duration of his games. And I've seen that in the last 2 matches. I don't think it was due to the difficulty of the matches. I feel
Morata at Old Trafford.
I feel basically that he prefers a faster lineup. He prefers guys who can finish. And Willian has proven that he can finish. Eden Hazard, given the opportunity, can finish. And Pedro can finish as well on a good day. But what it is for Chelsea is that capitalize when you get your chances. They always get their chances, but they always have this spell where they dominate and then just lose steam and then lose concentration and they look disinterested in the match. For Manchester City, it will be route 1. Possess, look to exploit the wings. And if you watch how Manchester City play, a lot of their goals actually come from the wing. So they keep possession of the ball and then they let Leroy Sané lose or Raheem Sterling lose. There's a pass infield or there's a 1-2 exchange. A pass comes across. And I always say that the passes that come from the wings are always the most difficult to defend. Or the
because
most
wrong swing, the most in the back of your own net.
The most difficult scenarios is when you are being attacked laterally from the wings. You cannot tell what's behind you. You really cannot tell who is making a run in behind you. So Manchester City's lethal weapons are on the wings. Chelsea will have to deal with that, meaning that Victor Moses and Marcos Alonso will both have to be on their best behavior, because both of them have been rubbish defensively in the past couple of matches. They've only been left off the hook by the ineptness of their opponents. So Chelsea know what to do. Manchester City know how to get. You
mentioned Leroy Sané. Just quick thoughts in my mind. I think he's prime candidate for Young Player of the Year.
Should be.
It's been amazing.
I don't have any other alternative in my mind as well, because he's been. Look, I look out for moments of growth and development in players.
And he has grown.
I look at the player who first arrived at Manchester City. He wasn't really getting the sort of opportunities he wanted. He got a few opportunities. Now he looks their most dangerous player when games are going down to the line and the team or the game is still stuck at a stalemate. So immense heart from the young man. He shows that he can take responsibility on a big stage. And if he's doing that at this young age, God knows what he will do when he's a little older.
Leroy Sané looks like he will be going to the World Cup in Russia. Then finally, let's talk about Palace and Man United. Palace lost to Spurs over the weekend. Painfully, albeit. 93rd minute goal. I think it was 89th minute, I believe. Hurricane header. Now they face Manchester United, who will be feeling very confident after beating Chelsea over the weekend.
Manchester United need to be wary of Palace, because Palace can either pull a very painful draw against them or a very unlikely victory. The problem is, ever since Wilfred Zaha started having injury issues, their fire seems to have died a little, and that's a problem when a team banks all its hopes on one guy. But who is to blame? Panchin and the likes of Townsend all seem to draw inspiration from Zaha. So when he's not around, everybody seems to just
over the weekend, I saw Townsend playing against Spurs. There was a sequence where the ball was played out to the right, brought it onto his left foot. Christian Benteke was calling for it. Townsend ignored it and tried shooting at. But it's just, I don't know. And like you're saying, without Zaha, they just don't look together. Benteke has had this horrible time. This most horrible period in England.
One of his most horrible periods.
Townsend is struggling, punching. They are.
It's just all over the place for them. But one thing you can trust them to do is to come up with a good defensive performance. I mean, they've not been walloped this season. They are one of those teams that really know how to keep it tight at the back. They are very, very disciplined bunch. So I'll prescribe that in a match where they will not trust their attacking instincts a lot, they can make up for it with a draw. 1-1 or taking a point away from United feels like a victory.
Knowing the scrappy nature of this time, how should Jose Mourinho play it? Smash and grab, play on the counter, seek to dominate.
Look to introduce Jesse Lingard at the right time. That's what he should do. Jesse Lingard is the guy, whether you like it or not.
The Black Panther celebrations and all of that.
And these days I want him to score because who knows what other celebration he might pull out. He looks like he has 1,001 of them. But look, United will be United. Dependent on the flow of the game, Jose Mourinho will decide that Paul Pogba should be behind the center circle. And let's not kid ourselves. He's not going to budge for nothing. He is who he is, and he's developed the reputation he has because of what he has done in the past and because he's always stuck to his gut. So I don't think United will change. They will play defensive-minded football depending on what Palace look like at whatever stage in the game. But all in all, I think that it's about in-game management. Look to introduce the right players at the right time. Just take advantage of situations when they come your way. We'll
see if Jose Mourinho will be handing out another note from the touchline like he did against Chelsea. Very funny episode there. Let me read a few of the comments that have come through. Abakov says, City FM, champion station. Thank you very much. Dennis Edelman, you're talking about my beard. Interesting. Nicholas Tamate says, spot on, Benjamin. Conte gave the game away with that Hazard change. Mourinho will never ever change a fit Hazard from a game. James Mawob says, Antonio Conte disappointed me. How could you take Hazard out while Morata was just a passenger? Nia Akramatete says, Liverpool will destroy Newcastle. Says, this is Anfield. Nia Akramatete says, 10 goals, 10 assists. Of course, latching on to Benjamin's matrix for player performance there. And Chum Daku says, a win for Man United, but it's not going to be easy. It should be the day Alexis Sanchez gets a goal from open play. All right, we'll take a short break. That's our final break. When we come back, I'll be throwing the fixtures at Benjamin, and then he'll be giving us his predictions for all the games for match week 29, and I'll go through the comments that will come through. I'm still waiting for our friends in Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Vietnam and Cambodia. You're waiting for those comments, but don't go anywhere. Still the Premier League preview show. Nathan Quao here, Benjamin Nketia in the seat next to me. We're having a quick turnaround for our final break. When we come back, we wrap the show up, comments and predictions.
4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Namaste.
Hell's down heaven now, living in the same town, trying to find something new. This ain't right, it's no good, no good.
Hello, welcome. Hello.
And I've been here for too long, going through the same things.
We unite. We defy. We hope. We dream. We play. We are fire in our hearts. We are made of black.
Hi, welcome, or you are welcome back to the Premier League preview show. We are just about ending. I'll go through the final batch of comments, but this is one of my favorite parts of the show, where Benjamin gives us his predictions. There are times when he gets it right, and there are times when he doesn't get it right. Like last week, he said Chelsea would win by 2-1.
It was the reverse.
Anyway, let's start off. There's Burnley versus Everton. That's our first game on Saturday at 12:30.
1-0 Burnley.
1-0 to the Burnley. Leicester versus Bournemouth. We saw Leicester struggle against Stoke. It was quite unfortunate they didn't win that game.
Leicester versus Bournemouth. 3-1 Leicester.
3-1 Leicester. Okay. Southampton versus Stoke.
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
I will get your thoughts on who you think will be relegated together with West Brom. I think West Brom are gone as well. Swansea and West Ham.
Swansea and West Ham.
Swansea welcome West Ham. Oh, how Andrea, you would love this.
I think Swansea will lose 2-1 to West Ham.
Amazing stuff. Spurs versus Huddersfield at Wembley.
Spurs to win this 3-0.
3-0. Watford and West Brom.
Watford, West Brom. 1-0 Watford.
Last week we saw Watford winning by goals against Everton. I thought it was a
very spirited performance.
Yeah, very, very, very good.
Showed a lot of character.
The heart and fight.
I love Troy Deeney. I love how the rest of his teammates seem to just pick up his energy and run with it. I love how he makes things happen.
And then our final game for Saturday is Liverpool versus Newcastle. That's our 5:30 kickoff.
4-1 Liverpool.
4-1 Liverpool. Interesting. Let's go to Sunday. Brighton versus Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal. Man City versus Chelsea.
2-2.
2-2. I love this one. Palace versus United. That's Monday night at 8 p.m.
Palace versus United. I say 2-1 Man United.
2-1 Man United. We'll see. That's how that fixture played out last season. Paul Pogba, Zlatan Ibrahimovic scoring that night. There, we'll find out how that one plays out. Let me go through the final batch of messages. Issa Abubakar says a win for United. Kofi Enchi Walker says Palace 0 Man United 2. Victor Ofoe Kublenu says what's our assessment of Scott McTominay? Ben, assessment of McTominay this season.
I've loved seeing him play so far. I mean, the biggest part for me is how he's not looked overawed by all the big names around him. And he's done very good jobs whenever he's been given specific roles by the manager. I think that sometimes Mourinho looks at McTominay and says, if only Pogba would obey instructions like
Mourinho talks about he giving McTominay several jobs as a way of teaching him the ropes of being a midfielder.
And he's passed most of them with flying colours, if you ask me.
When you look at him, where do you think, or how do you think he will eventually play out? I think it's too early.
Good question. I haven't seen the full definition of all his powers to make a judgment. I think that he is a decent passer. He's not a good enough passer to attempt becoming a playmaker now. his biggest attribute for me now is his energy and his ability to mark. So I feel that something in the mode maybe of a Paul Scholes, a blend of Paul Scholes and Roy Keane. If he can develop his passing,
so he needs that.
Will be caught in between that mix somewhere.
Now, people talk about the pass that went to Lukaku for Lingard to go. Now, it came from McTominay.
Yeah.
As soon as the ball got to him, he raised his head,
Yeah.
looked up Romelu Lukaku, played it forward. And people are saying that that's the kind of thing midfielders at United need
quick
to do.
awareness. Look,
and at his age, he's already seeing those passes.
That's very true, because these days, look, on a generic level, when I watch matches, one of the biggest things I notice is how
Passes are sideways.
how much even decision making affects the flow of a game. Look, you need to pass a ball diagonally 2 seconds early. You delay the pass 2 seconds,
everything.
and the opportunity is gone. The lane has been shut down by a marking player. So players need to understand these things. Sometimes instead of taking 2-3 touches or taking 2-3 dribbles, one dribble is just good enough.
Okay.
I think that once he gets those decisions down properly, he has a lot ahead of him to achieve.
So Scott McTominay has a lot to achieve. Alex Ferguson, in a video I watched earlier today, has been urging Jose Mourinho to give the player more opportunities. The chances will come. He must take them though. Bright Osman Ayaga says Arsenal will beat Man City tomorrow night 2-1. Nia Kramateta says the failed transfer of the season is Kofi Piano, aka Alexis Sanchez. Says the guy still looks like the guy at Arsenal. Nothing has changed. 500,000 a week, that is a waste. Azongo Rashid says he loves listening to us. Thank you. Nia Krama returns to say Salah player of the season, no doubt. Bang on winner, player of the season.
Apparently,
no doubt.
Apparently, some restaurants in Liverpool is planning to give away a free meal every time Salah scores a goal.
Christ Jesus.
Yes.
Why are we not there?
That's how that is how much Mohamed Salah has infected the Liverpool community.
Mohamed Salah, brilliant acquisition, the best signing of the season so far. He has paid, repaid, and overpaid.
Charlie.
I'm telling you, Liverpool should write to Roma and thank them extra.
Exactly.
Fantastic acquisition.
They should ask them, are you people sure that you don't need us to give you more money for
an
that
extra
Salah
10
transfer?
million for Salah?
Because it will totally be worth it.
Brilliant. Salah, bang on favorite to win player of the season. But that's our show, Ben. Thank you very much. We'll catch you again next week. We'll be back here next Wednesday for another episode. Enjoy the games tomorrow night and over the weekend. And by next Wednesday, we'll find out who's going down, who's staying up. Ben, I said I'd ask you that. West Brom looks certain, really.
West Brom are definitely going down. I think Swansea will go down.
You still think they will go?
No, I still think they're not
so
going
Swansea, who else? West Brom, Swansea.
Part of me says Southampton. Another part of me says Stoke City.
We'll see about that.
I think Southampton will go down. We'll find out the three that will be going down. And by next week when we meet again for another episode, we'll get a clearer picture. Who's staying up, who's going down, who's doing what. It's still all love, all crazy things happening in terms of the Premier League preview show. My name is Quao and Benjamin Nketia. We'll catch you next Wednesday. Like I said, enjoy the games on Thursday. And over the weekend, do take care. Next week, we are back for another episode. Catch you then. Bye-bye.